a game that probably 4 or 5 weeks ago, people would have looked at and been like, man, this is going to be an absolute blowout. And I don't think you could say that anymore, as much as our
No,
director of content, Gordon, as a Ravens fan, would like for me to say that. I'm not. I'm not going to do it.
not in good
What's the
faith.
matchup that matters here, Carmen? What do you think? Are you as in it? This game could be a close one as me, or do you think that this is going to be a little bit more
Absolutely.
one-sided? What do you got?
No, absolutely. I mean, it's the ultimate parody. And then after what happened in Cleveland this last, you just really never know. And I do think that the Ravens are going to come back with a vengeance, but we saw that Lamar Jackson wasn't practicing today, at least during the portion that media was allowed out at practice. Lamar was not there. He finished the game in Cleveland, but, did get banged up, and you wonder how much of that is going to linger. But then at the same time, you also have a guy named Derrick Henry. So them against this Denver defense, the Denver defensive line. How do you contain this rushing attack that is just something that most teams aren't built to defend? But I do have a lot of faith in this Denver rather, defensive line, in the defense in general, just given their physicality and given how productive they are in stopping opposing offenses in general. You look at what Lamar Jackson has been excelling at this year, and I know we're talking about what he is as a run threat, but he's passing the ball better than he ever has. And
Mm-hmm.
Denver's defense has only allowed 8 passing touchdowns, which is tied for seventh. And they've gotten 177 pressures, which is 24 more than any other team. So they know how to affect the quarterback. They know how to limit production. 16 completions allowing 20 or more yards. That's it. So that's tied for second fewest in the league. It's an incredibly stifling unit is what I'm getting at. And I really do think that they match up well with what this Baltimore offense tries to do. And now we're going to see if Deontay Johnson is a factor. We'll
Right.
get to that in a little bit. But you now have a couple more receiving options that really rounds out this Ravens offensive attack that makes it that much more lethal. And you can't really sell out on anything, whether it's against the run, loading the box, doing all that kind of stuff, because then the Ravens can still go over top. If you keep, your nickel package on the field, how effective is that against Derrick Henry? It presents a lot of hard decisions for defenses, but I do think that with the physicality of this Denver defense and especially that defensive line, they might be better suited than most teams, and I do think this will be a good matchup.
I think that the other side of the ball is just important of a matchup because I do agree with you, but I'm really excited to see this game from Bo Nix's perspective because
Sure.
over the last couple of weeks, Bo Nix has been playing very well. Now, he hasn't been pressured a ton, right? When you look at over the last 4 weeks, he's ninth in the NFL in passing grade at 77.5. He's 12th in the NFL in passing grade when he's passing 10 or more yards. But all of that to say, 41 of his 66 dropbacks that he has had where a time to throw was 2.5 seconds or more, he wasn't pressured. And so that is a heavy percentage of his plays where he really was not pressured. And the Denver Broncos offensive line has been blocking very well for him. What's it going to look like this week? Because this Baltimore defensive line and this Baltimore front just overall is a much better unit. It's one of the better units that he's going to face so far this season. 139 pressures from Baltimore so far this season. That's 13th in the NFL. And so it's a great test for Nix, who has been able to play well while he's been kept clean, including pushing the ball deeper down the field. Is he still able to find those shots here this game against the Ravens, especially as a road team, right? And I think that goes into it as well. That kind of rolls right into my plus factor for this game is not only does Nix have to play continually just as well as he has, maybe not just as well, but good enough under pressure this week, he also has to continue to push the ball deep down the field. That was a big area of criticism of him coming into the NFL, is that Oregon's offense didn't really need him to do that very often. He was sort of inexperienced with it. He had his misses, and I think earlier this year he had some of those as well, but he has been better at that lately. There's two wide receivers in particular, Marvin Mims Jr. and Troy Franklin. These guys have to be the plus factors, in my opinion, because when you look at these guys, 13.0 average depth of target for Marvin Mims, 15.6 average depth of target for Troy Franklin. Those are the two highest on the team. And so they have averaged the most yards per target, or yards, or average depth of target, excuse me, on the team. And if Bo Nix is going to continue to be good pushing the ball deep down the field, I think those guys are going to have to be heavily involved. When you look at the Ravens on the other side of things, when it comes to passes of 15 yards or more, they have a 28.4 coverage grade as a team. That's one of the worst in the league. So we saw this, we've seen this over the last couple of weeks. The Ravens struggle to defend the deep passes. Sometimes Denver struggles to do so. Are they going to be able to capitalize and stay on this good run here that Nix has, pushing the ball deep down the field against a defense that has been susceptible to it at this point in the year? So that matchup that matters sort of rolls right into my guys that need to step up for that to be the case for Bo Nix. But who is your plus factor in this game?
Well, speaking of deep passes and deep targets, my plus factor is Zay Flowers now with the addition of Diontae Johnson, because what does Zay Flowers excel at? It's those deep passes. He's got 26 catches gaining a first down, 15 catches gaining 15 or more yards, which is tied for fourth in the league. These are top 10 numbers from Zay Flowers. If you allow him to be the guy that is the deep threat, that gets to go down the field, that stretches the field that way, because you have another receiver that can do some of the other stuff that Diontae Johnson can underneath, intermediate, all of that kind of stuff. It's going to open things up entirely for Zay Flowers. And given that Diontae Johnson is new to this team, we don't know how much he's going to play. But at the very least, I would expect him to still be on the field, again, creating something that the defense has to contend with, which could take some of the attention off of Zay Flowers. And I really think that there is now an opportunity for Zay to take advantage of that and to get into some mismatches. And you have a quarterback that can absolutely identify those mismatches in Lamar Jackson, and also allow for time for Zay Flowers to get down the field and to get those deep strikes and to push the ball down the field in those chunk plays when you're not just ground and pounding it with Derrick Henry.